Welcome to Storiz Podcast.
So imagine you are a multi-platinum artist, right? You are shooting this massive, highly anticipated music video that is basically meant to show the entire world that you have finally made it to the very top.
Right, the big budget flex.
Exactly. The cameras are rolling, the lighting is totally perfect, the crowd is hyped. What car do you park dead center in the frame?
Well, normally, you'd think a candy apple red Ferrari. Or like maybe a customized Rolls Royce.
Yeah, that is the standard playbook. But if you are creating visual art for the biggest, most influential music genre coming out of Africa right now, the answer is actually a reasonably priced, practical German hatchback.
A Volkswagen.
Yes, specifically the Volkswagen Golf. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's so funny because it sounds like a punchline when you frame it that way, but it really is one of the most fascinating cultural phenomena happening in music today.
It really is.
Because the visual language of Amapiano music is, well, it's practically inseparable from that specific vehicle.
And that is exactly what we are focusing on today. We got our hands on this incredibly vibrant, hilarious, and honestly just brilliant conversation between two cultural commentators who are trying to dissect this exact obsession.
It's a great source. You've got Xmilez, who brings this very grounded, self-aware, South African perspective.
Yeah, he really knows the culture inside and out.
Right. And then you have Vinkxwts, who is a Nigerian commentator, and he's basically just trying to wrap his head around why a genre this globally dominant is so fiercely loyal to, a standard commuter car.
It's such a great dynamic between them because Vinkxwts is coming from a totally different regional mindset when it comes to showing off wealth.
Exactly. He's interrogating Xmilez about the sheer ubiquity of this car.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just laughing through the whole exchange. But they are inadvertently giving us this high-level masterclass on visual aesthetics.
Right, and how physical commodities become these huge cultural signifiers. Vinkxwts actually sets the stakes beautifully early on in their chat.
Oh, the Jollof rule.
Yes. He tells Xmilez that watching an Amapiano music video without seeing a Volkswagen is like eating jollof rice without pepper. Yeah. He literally says it's illegal.
I love that analogy. It does a lot of heavy lifting for the conversation.
It really does, because he's saying the dish might technically be cooked, but it fundamentally lacks that essential bite that gives it its true identity.
Right. It's an incomplete experience for the consumer. It tells you right away that the car isn't just treated as like a background prop by the director.
No, not at all.
It's an active ingredient.
Yeah.
If you remove the pepper from the jollof, you instantly know something is wrong.
The flavor is just off.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remove the Volkswagen from the Amapiano video, the viewer feels this immediate subconscious disconnect from the scene. Like it's not authentic anymore.
So let's talk about how that authenticity is constructed visually, because Xmilez paints this very specific picture of the standard Amapiano video setup.
The visual observation is so spot on.
You hit play and you instantly recognize the scene. You are usually on a dusty street, right? Not in some high-end sterile studio.
Right, it's very lived in.
Yeah, you have the groove set up, so it's a community gathering, the coolers are out, people are dancing, and the atmosphere is just thick with this kinetic energy.
And right in the middle of all that human movement.
Yep, parked right in the middle is a pristine, shining Volkswagen Golf, usually the GTI model, just sitting there like it owns the real estate.
The way Vinkxwts describes it is hilarious. He says the car often looks like it just descended from the heavens.
It's so true. It's polished to an absolute mirror finish.
Yeah, and it's reflecting all the neon lights or the setting sun, which creates this incredibly sharp contrast with the gritty texture of the street itself.
I am so glad he brought up that contrast, because if you pay attention to the camera work in these videos, it borders on the absurd.
Oh, totally.
The camera doesn't just happen to catch the car in the background while filming the artist. It actively lingers on it.
You get those slow, sweeping pans over the sharp lines of the hood.
Yes. The lens will literally zero in on the VW badge on the grille, or it will highlight the custom rims. Honestly, half the time it feels less like a music video and more like a high-budget car commercial.
A car commercial that just happens to have a phenomenal soundtrack playing over it.
Exactly.
Vinkxwts actually jokes about this exact visual hierarchy. He notes that the car commands so much dedicated screen time, might as well just open its grill and start singing, Amapiano to the world.
That is such a good line.
Right. But the implication there is that the vehicle is elevated. It's not set dressing. It's basically a co-star.
It's playing a lead role right alongside the vocalist and the dancers. But look, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Music videos have always featured cars. I mean, hip-hop has lowriders, pop has those vintage convertibles driving down the Pacific Coast Highway.
Sure, car culture and music have always been linked.
Right, so are we reading too much into this? Is the VW Golf actually carrying that much narrative weight? Or is it just, the default aesthetic choice because everyone else is doing it?
I mean, it is a fair question. But Xmilez's breakdown really proves that it is carrying immense narrative weight.
How so?
He explains that in the South African context, and specifically within the Kasiali lifestyle, which is the township culture where Amapiano was actually born, the Volkswagen isn't just transportation.
Okay.
It is this highly compressed symbol of culture, style, and status. It is environmental storytelling at its absolute most efficient.
Okay, explain that mechanism to me. How exactly does a car do the work of environmental storytelling?
Well, think about what a set designer normally has to do to establish a location and a mood. They have to layer in dozens of tiny visual cues, right?
Right, like the wardrobe, the lighting, the props in the background.
Exactly. But for Amapiano, placing a Golf GTI dead center in the frame instantly does all that work. It anchors the sweeping global sound of the music firmly back to its grassroots birthplace.
Oh, I see.
It tells the viewer without a single word of exposition, this is our environment, this is the township, and this is our specific flavor of joy and success.
It's like a localized currency of respect.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it makes total sense.
And this brings in that friction between our two commentators, which I found fascinating. Because Vinkxwts tries to translate this through his Nigerian lens.
Right, he brings a totally different cultural parallel into the mix.
He points out that in Nigeria, the ultimate unspoken communication that you have arrived at success is rolling up in a clean Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, the Benz.
You do not need to say a single word. The Benz speaks completely on your behalf.
In Nigeria, the Benz operates as this universal shorthand for having made it. It just demands instant deference from everyone around you.
So Vinkxwts totally understands the concept of a car acting as a cultural megaphone.
Right.
But he is initially just baffled by the specific choice of the megaphone in South Africa. And honestly, I am completely with him on this.
Really? You think they should be aiming higher?
Let's be real here. Music industries are fueled by massive egos.
That is undeniably true.
Once these Amapiano artists start dominating global streaming charts, touring the world, making serious money, why aren't they renting Lamborghinis or Ferraris just to prove they can?
Supercar flex.
Yeah. Staying loyal to a sensibly priced German hatchback almost feels like they're deliberately leaving clout on the table. If the goal is to flex, why hold back?
Vinkxwts asks that exact same question. He wonders why, if you have the budget for a high-end music video, you wouldn't just secure the most expensive exotic Italian supercar available.
Right. It seems like the obvious move.
And Xmilez's response is easily the most revealing moment of their entire exchange. He simply laughs out loud at the proposition.
His response is incredible. He says, bringing a Ferrari to a dusty township street is completely pointless. And I quote, "Who are you impressing, ghosts?"
Here's where it gets really interesting. That phrase, impressing ghosts, it perfectly captures the psychology of aspirational marketing versus community authenticity.
Because the ghost is the outsider.
Exactly. Xmilez is pointing out that a Ferrari is so alien to the day-to-day reality of the people in that specific community, it wouldn't even register as a meaningful flex.
It's just too disconnected.
Right. It would look completely absurd, like landing a literal spaceship in front of a corner store.
You aren't communicating success to your community at that point. You are just showing them something from a totally different planet.
And more importantly, you are alienating your core audience. This is where Xmilez introduces this concept of realistic aspiration, which is so crucial.
Realistic aspiration. I like that term.
A Ferrari represents an abstract, unattainable fantasy for the vast majority of people. But a Volkswagen, particularly a well-maintained Golf GTI, occupies a very specific psychological middle ground.
It is attainable luxury. It's not cheap. It certainly communicates that you have some disposable income and you're doing well for yourself.
Right.
But it is not pure fantasy. It's not a spaceship.
That is the crucial distinction. Many people in the Amapiano fan base might already own a Volkswagen, or they know someone in their neighborhood who does.
Yeah, they see them around.
Or, crucially, they can realistically envision themselves owning one if they work hard and hit a milestone. It is an achievable dream.
I see what you mean. It is kind of like seeing a legendary punk rock band playing a massive stadium show, but they are still wearing battered Converse sneakers and combat boots.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
The footwear isn't just a wardrobe choice, it is proof that they still know how to survive in the mosh pit. The Golf GTI proves to the audience that the artist can survive and thrive in the reality of the township.
Exactly. They haven't abandoned their roots for some gated community mentality.
So it's about solidarity just as much as it is about showing off.
By keeping the visual focus on an attainable vehicle, the artist is essentially inviting the listener into the frame.
They're saying, you can sit in this passenger seat.
Exactly. They are sending a subliminal message that says, this lifestyle, this joy, this level of success, it is within your reach.
Whereas a Lamborghini builds a massive insurmountable wall between the star and the viewer.
Yes. The Golf GTI dismantles that wall entirely. It makes the aspiration a shared communal experience.
That makes perfect sense. But owning the car is only half the equation in this conversation.
Right, there's the performance aspect.
Exactly. The other half is the respect that the car inherently commands. When Vinkxwts and Xmilez start discussing street credibility, there is a really funny cultural misfire between them.
Oh yeah, Vinkxwts totally misinterprets it at first.
He hears street cred and immediately jumps to the cinematic Hollywood trope.
Yeah.
He assumes Xmilez is talking about gangster respect or like underworld intimidation.
It is a super common assumption, honestly. But Xmilez quickly pivots the conversation away from that. He clarifies that the street credibility of the Volkswagen in South Africa is deeply rooted in car culture itself.
It's about an appreciation for the machine. We are talking about performance, design, and reliability.
Right, the Golf GTI isn't just a commuter car. It is a hot hatch.
Yeah, it has a serious reputation for being punchy, fast, and highly tunable. Car guys love them.
It carries what Xmilez describes as the ultimate pull-up energy.
The pull-up energy.
Yes. In the context of the Kasi lifestyle, pulling up to a groove in a Golf GTI signals absolute confidence. You aren't trying too hard, but you are undeniably present.
You know your car is respected by the community, you know it looks sharp, and it communicates that you possess good taste with just the right underlying edge.
And Vinkxwts actually completely relates to this specific feeling, even if the car itself is different in his context.
Right. He equates that South African pull-up energy to rolling up to a spot in Nigeria with your squad in the car. The music is blasting.
And everyone on the street turning their heads and shouting, "Who be this?
Who be this?"
Right.
That energy is universal. It's that undeniable presence that commands attention without having to beg for it.
And when you translate that specific energy onto a camera lens for a music video, it creates a very potent visual dynamic.
I really want to dig into the actual aesthetics of that translation because the sonic architecture of Amapiano is very specific.
Oh, absolutely. The sound design is totally unique.
It is not fast, frantic club music. It is usually mid-tempo, very atmospheric, and built around these incredibly deep, heavy, driving log drum bass lines.
The log drum is everything.
And visually, the Golf GTI perfectly mirrors that sound.
It really does. The design language of the car and the sonic language of the music are remarkably aligned.
How so?
Well, the GTI features very clean, almost minimalist lines. It doesn't have the exaggerated, chaotic curves of a supercar.
Right. It's not flashy in a tacky way.
Exactly. But it sits low to the ground, and it has this wide, aggressive stance. It looks understated, but ready to pounce.
Oh, wow. That is literally the visual equivalent of the log drum.
Right.
It is smooth and atmospheric until the bass hits, and then it is purely aggressive.
You take that sharp, low-profile car, you place it in the dusty atmosphere of a music video set, and you add the practical effects.
The smoke, the neon lighting reflecting off the paint.
Yes. You choreograph the dancers moving around the vehicle, the slow opening of the doors. It creates a very cohesive piece of art.
Vinkxwts actually calls the integration of the car cinematic, and I think he is entirely accurate.
It holds the frame perfectly.
Yeah.
It adds weight and geometry to the choreography happening all around it.
The visual aesthetics of the machine enhance the auditory experience of the music. It's a perfect pairing.
But this brings us to the elephant in the room.
Ah, yes, the conspiracy theory.
Exactly. Because this pairing works so perfectly, and because it is featured with such relentless consistency across almost every major video in the genre.
It triggers a very modern, skeptical reaction. Vinkxwts brings up the controversial suspicion that I think literally any outsider would immediately have.
What's fascinating here is how he just straight up asks the question of corporate influence.
He asks Xmilez, is Volkswagen secretly funding all of this?
Right, like, are they sponsoring these Amapiano videos behind closed doors?
Because when you look at it from a pure marketing perspective, the sheer volume of product placement looks highly suspicious.
It looks like a coordinated, multi-million-dollar guerrilla marketing campaign, basically executed by some boardroom in Germany.
It is a very logical leap to make, especially in an era where brand integration is usually heavily negotiated and paid for.
But Xmilez offers a far more nuanced and, frankly, more interesting reality about how modern culture interacts with commerce.
He doesn't just deny it outright, though.
No, he's realistic. He admits that sometimes, sure, there might be a sponsorship deal happening on a specific shoot.
The brand is obviously aware of the cultural phenomenon by now. I mean, they aren't blind to their own sales data or social media mentions.
Right, but Xmilez makes it emphatically clear that corporate checks are not the driving catalyst for this trend.
The true engine behind the obsession is that the artists themselves know exactly what visual cues resonate with their audience.
The culture adopted the car long before the corporation realized what was even happening.
So the timeline is flipped.
Exactly.
It is an organic, grassroots cultural love that has slowly solidified into a deliberate, strategic visual choice by the directors and the artists.
They aren't putting the car in the video to satisfy a corporate quota. They're doing it because the community demands it.
Vinkxwts synthesizes this perfectly by noting that the phenomenon is organic in its origin, but highly strategic in its current application.
Right. The artists are actively reflecting the genuine aspirations and the established realities of the Kasai lifestyle back to their audience.
They know the formula works, so they deploy it strategically. And the audience demand is so fierce that the inclusion of the car has actually transitioned from being just a stylistic choice to, a non-negotiable requirement.
The two commentators reach this point of hilarious exaggeration about the consequences of ignoring the rule.
The threat of immediate cultural cancellation.
Yes, Vinkxwts jokes that if a prominent artist dared to shoot an Amapiano video without featuring a Volkswagen, they would literally have to issue a public statement to explain themselves.
I can just picture it. The comment sections would be completely hijacked by fans demanding to know, where is the golf? This isn't authentic.
And Xmilez takes it a step further.
Yeah.
He jokes that the audience would cancel the artist before the chorus of the song even drops.
Which is saying something, because given the slow burn structure of Amapiano tracks, that chorus can sometimes take a solid minute or two to drop.
True. But the point remains. The visual cue is so deeply embedded in the consumer's expectation that its absence becomes incredibly distracting.
If there is no GTI in the frame, the viewer's subconscious just starts flashing a warning light. Something is wrong here. This world is incomplete.
It fundamentally fractures the authenticity of the environment the artist is trying to portray.
So the car has basically evolved from being a piece of transportation to a status symbol to an absolute prerequisite for cultural legitimacy.
It is genuinely mind-blowing when you zoom out and look at the whole picture.
It really is. I mean, we started this deep dive by just noticing a recurring car brand in a specific style of music video. And by following the conversation between Vinkxwts and Xmilez, we ended up uncovering an entire sociological ecosystem.
We unpacked how the Volkswagen serves as the physical anchor for the Kasai lifestyle.
We explored the psychology of realistic aspiration and why a sensible hatchback is a far more powerful communicative tool than the alienating flex of a supercar.
And we also dissected the street credibility it carries, that distinct, universal pull-up energy.
And how the aggressive, low-profile aesthetics of the machine perfectly mirror the deep, driving log drum sonics of the music itself.
It is the ultimate visual shorthand.
So what does this all mean? Toward the end of their exchange, Vinkxwts playfully accuses Xmilez of being a philosopher.
Just because Xmilez insists the car is part of the story.
Right, and Xmilez tries to laugh it off, claiming he is just a guy who likes the groove. But Vinkxwts is actually right. Xmilez is laying out a profound philosophical framework for how we consume culture.
The car is the physical manifestation of the music's soul.
Vinkxwts makes one final brilliant joke that brings the entire conversation full circle.
Oh, I know exactly which one you mean.
He suggests that, given the car's dominance in the frame and its massive importance to the genre's identity, maybe Volkswagen is actually the real Amapiano artist.
The ultimate phantom collaborator.
Yes. The real star isn't the person on the microphone. It is the machine parked under the neon lights, establishing the entire mood for the scene.
It is such an insightful dynamic between those two, and I guarantee it will completely change the way you watch these videos going forward.
It provides a fantastic analytical lens for viewing any form of media, honestly. It challenges you to look past the surface-level action and identify the hidden rules of the communities being portrayed.
The localized currencies, exactly.
And that leads me to a thought I want to leave directly with you, the listener, as you go about the rest of your day.
Something to mull over.
Exactly. Take a moment to examine the music genres that you listen to or the specific subcultures you engage with. Look really closely at their visual language. What is their Volkswagen Golf?
That's a great question.
What is that one seemingly ordinary object or that specific brand of clothing or that particular background element that is so deeply organically woven into the fabric of that community?
The thing that, if it were suddenly removed, the entire culture would instantly feel synthetic or inauthentic.
Exactly. Every single community has one. And once you start looking for those hidden anchors, you will begin to see them absolutely everywhere.
It is a powerful exercise in understanding how communities define themselves through the objects they choose to revere.
It truly is. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We had an absolute blast unpacking the mechanisms of this culture with you.
It has been a pleasure. Keep questioning the deeper meaning behind what you see on the screen.
We will see you on the next deep dive.